let's check out some more Coiorvis JoyCons. All right, this is the Coiorvis Joypad controller for the Nintendo Switch. Now, yes, we have seen the Coiorvis Phantom HD. Those are like a higher spec version of these essentially, but these have a different shell and everything like that. So they're totally different, but those are like the pro ones. These are like not so pro, but still really good features. And you might recognize the shape because they're pretty much identical to the Mobipad M8s that we looked at a couple of years ago. I'm pretty sure they're the exact same shell. I'll have to dig mine out and see, if they really are. But either way, they're a really nice shape. I really do like the sort of fit and feel of these. These are huge in comparison. I always liked those ones because of the size and mainly because of these massive horns just here. So this is all you get inside the box is the actual Joy-Cons themselves. Oh, and these, which we'll take a look at in a minute if I don't break them beforehand. But yeah, these are the Joy-Cons, and these are different from the Mobipad M8s because these are actually wireless. So if you don't know about the M8s, don't worry about it. I'll go through the specs of these. So these are actually wireless. You can use them independently, so you can use them separately like that. They've got ALPS potentiometer joysticks, so they are not Hall effect sticks, but they've got ALPS ones, which are supposedly pretty good, right? They've got an actual D-pad. We've got mechanical triggers and bumpers. We've got membrane face buttons on the front just here. We've got turbo, we've got macro, we've got back paddles as well, which you can do button swap or macro on, and they do have gyro as well as standard non-adjustable rumble. And of course, you may have noticed they've got a GameCube theme going on just here with the yellow, right stick, the C stick, and then the colorway being purple, and that's pretty much it. We don't get any more like GameCube references. It's just the purple with the yellow stick, and these are not detachable or anything like that. They just are what they are, and yeah, they feel nice, they do feel nice. They got a really solid construction, despite the fact that the other feature is removable faceplates. Now these are just magnetized on, and they are really magnetized on, so they're a little bit difficult to get off sometimes because you have to get your nail in. There's no notch to get your nail under, so I've been doing it from the trigger side and just kind of pulling out there and then pulling it off. But then you can get one of these and put on red, so you can have purple and red if you want. Now personally, this color is not for me. I'd much rather have purple, but at least you can change them if you so wish. The gates are exactly the same on both of them, so there's no change in gates. There's not an octagonal one or anything like that. They're just circular. It's just an aesthetic choice whether you want to change them or if you want to customize them. I kind of always say that if you can replace faceplates and stuff, you could hydro dip them or do something really cool if you know what you're doing, or ruin them if you don't know what you're doing. So I don't bother doing any of that because I don't know what I'm doing. But it's an option that you can do. Now, the actual plastics feel nice. It's a good construction. They're not rattly or anything like that. They're actually pretty decent. Look at the size difference between the actual Joy-Con, right? They are massive in comparison. So these ultimately, I'm just going to say it right now, are for people with huge hands, right? Or people that want really good ergonomics for that asymmetrical right joystick just here. And we'll look at that now we slide these on. So they slide on really easily, they just slide in and out, not like the other Coiorvis Phantom HDs, which are really stiff. But saying that, there's only minimal flex, so you can see it wobbling a bit there, but it's not the worst I felt. They do have the little feet on the backs just here to kind of stand it up and kind of stop it from over bending and snapping your rails, and it also acts as a rest as well, so you just stick them on like so. Now you can see just how big these actually are, and to be honest, they feel so good. I always love the ergonomics of the M8s by Mobipad, and the Coiorvis just here are exactly the same. Some people might not like the huge step off down to the screen. It's not my favorite either because the back seems to be pretty on point, but the front has this huge step off, so that's something to note. But oh my days, they are comfortable, really comfortable, and specifically, let's just jump straight to it, getting down to this right stick, because if I hold the Joy-Cons, right, naturally, let's pretend they're on, naturally my thumb wants to rest up here where the buttons are, not down here. So you can't play like that. That's horrible. So what you end up doing is kind of gripping the Switch like this to get down to this right stick, and you want like a horn in your hand, right? That's why proper controllers have nice big horns, so that you can get down like an Xbox controller, you can get down to that stick really well, but you can't with the Switch Joy-Cons. But with these, you can, because look at this. This massive piece just here lets you slap it right into the palm of your hand, and oh, perfect, like that. I know this game doesn't support right stick, but this is going to be ideal for shooters and stuff. Like, it is so nice. The grip and ergonomics of this. I'm not propping it up with my fingers, which I do all the time, even with like larger Joy-Cons. I still end up putting my fingers on, but you don't need to with this because you just hold it like a controller, sits in your hand, lovely. You can get to these back paddles really nicely. It just works so well. I know it's big, I know it's cumbersome, but for comfort, if comfort is purely your thing, and especially if you've got big hands, this is where it's at. Like, this is where it's at. Now, personally, I wish they would update a couple of things, but I'll save that for the end. Let's go over the buttons and all that good stuff. So the button-wise, we do have membrane buttons, but they don't have any sort of pre-travel. A very, very minor amount of post-travel, but not even like noticeable. They input lovely, like they're really nice for membrane buttons. They feel good. Even though it's like kind of sticks out, it doesn't follow the curvature of this. Because it's so wide, I think it actually makes sense because your thumb just naturally goes over to it rather than having to go around this corner. So I actually quite like the face buttons. They're decent, you know, they are decent. So we've got the triggers and bumpers. Now these do have mechanical switches in them, and you can kind of hear that. So this is a difference between membrane, I'll do the face buttons, and then the mechanical like micro switches in the bumpers and the triggers, right? So just listen, let me turn the game volume off. So membrane. Right, now mechanical. Sorry for the rumble you can hear there, but you can kind of get the picture, right? So the mechanical switch is lovely, like absolutely lovely. And it's kind of funny because on the Coiorvis Phantom HDs, I was saying how much travel there is in the bumpers, triggers, and the M button on the top. There is none on this. There's no wiggle on that at all. It's just straight actuation. And the same with the back. They are obviously digital triggers, not analog. So they are digital and they're straight in with a mechanical switch. Lovely, like absolutely spot on, perfect, love it. Don't have a problem with them whatsoever. They're nice and firm as well. Like, they just work lovely. Like the face buttons, which is important, triggers and bumpers, I love it. Like, they're really, really good. Love it, absolutely love it. D-pad then, D-pad. This is important. I know I always say, the D-pads are rubbish or whatever. I like this one. I do like this one. It's got a heavy concave to it. It's not clicky, but it's decent and it doesn't like miss input. So even though it's an 8-way D-pad, right, it kind of acts like a 4-way, because if I push down here and go left, he's not moving. If I go right, he's not moving. But if I rock my finger over to the left sidelet, now he's crawling left. If I rock my finger all the way to the right, now he's crawling right. So this D-pad is decent. It's got good inputs. I like the feel of it as well. The size is good, and I like the concave. So there you go. Everyone that says that, oh, all I do is rip on D-pads, this one's good. Now, granted, for fighting games, I used to say this in the past, not so much now. I don't really play them, so I can't really say like, yeah, they're really good for the Street Fighter or whatever, because I just suck at fighting games like that, you know. So I'm mainly into like platformy Metroidvanias and action games like Bayonetta and stuff. That's my kind of fighting games, like Bayonetta style, that kind of thing, right? But yeah, so I like this D-pad. For me, it's nice. Joystick wise then, joysticks are nice. They're a little bit too large, can you say that? Like they're almost too big. Like there's a lot of movement going on here. I like the ones on the Phantom HD more. These are ALPS joysticks, so they're huge, but again, for big hands, you will love these, and they're really good. They are really good. There is some slight dead zone, like minor dead zone. They are not Hall effect, so they will have a larger dead zone anyway, but to be honest, I've not really noticed it. Like, testing it, I can say, okay, yeah, there is a slight dead zone there, but I've not noticed it. I've not had any sticking or anything like that. They are decent, but they are not Hall effect, so you might get drift. Might. I'm saying might because you might not. I've got controllers from 20 years plus ago that are not Hall effect. They still haven't got drift. But, you know, I know drift's becoming more of a thing now. You would have thought it'd become less of a thing, but whatever. Everything's actually shaping up to be pretty good. Do you know what I mean? It is. The back paddle triggers are nice. You know, they're a little bit mushy, obviously, but most of them are. There's no pre or post travel that's like, maybe a bit of post travel, but nothing that makes me notice when I'm actually playing the game. Like, they're decent. Other buttons we've got the standard home, you know, we've got all the standard buttons. The only other buttons extra we've got are the back paddles, and then the M and the T buttons on each side, and that is turbo and macro. So turbo lets you repeat an input, right, without you pressing the button, or if you press and hold the button. Let's just take, for example, jump. So I'm gonna press turbo and B. I'm then gonna hold B, and do you see how Mario's jumping? Well, now Turbo's, you know, getting him to jump, and you'll see this will flash. It might not be flashing very much because of the shutter speed on my camera, but you can change the rate in which it inputs for you. So press T up once on the thingy there, and now he's jumping faster. That light down there is flashing faster. If I press T and up once more, now he's going to jump even quicker, more quickly than he can in the game, right? And that is just going absolutely mental, that light. So you've got 3 speeds, which is up and down on the joystick whilst pressing T. Now if I press T again, because obviously it's currently on whilst I hold, if I press T and B again, now it's like auto turbo, and it will only stop when I hold the button. But if I let go, it will keep going. If I press T and B again, it cancels out, right? So that's turbo. The macro button is for these back paddles. So I'll show you button swap first, and this does have true button swap. So I'm gonna press and hold M until the light comes on. I'm gonna press B and then M again once more. And now I've got jump on this back paddle. And if I do a short jump, he does a short jump. If I press and hold, he does a long jump. So it's got true button swap. I love that. And I'm pretty sure if I press T and the back paddle, you can still put turbo to that macro back paddle, which a lot of controllers don't let you do, but this one does let you do, right? So you can do that. And to cancel it, I've just been pressing this and then waiting for it to flash and then pressing again, and then that cancels it out. But you can do a macro record. So I'm going to press and hold until it flashes. I'm going to jump, just press a bunch of buttons, right? And then I'm going to press M again, and now I can do this, and he's just going to do it for me. Now I couldn't get turbo to work on a macro input, and even if I press it, like double press it like some controllers, it doesn't let me like repeat that process. It just plays it through once. There might be a way to do 2, but it doesn't come with a manual. Couldn't find one online, so I'm just going off my own memory of like how to use controllers like this, do you know what I mean, and the button presses. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can turbo a macro input, but there we go. And then you can press and hold and wait for it to flash, press it again, and then that will cancel it out. But there is one thing to know. There's buttons on each side for a reason, because you can only turbo to this side, like from this button, and you can only macro to this side. You can't like macro D-pad inputs to this back paddle. It's got to be right side only or left side only. That is something to take note of. It's just the way it goes because they're 2 independent Bluetooth controllers. They're not like interconnected or anything. But yeah, now we're on to the rumble. Now the rumble is just your vicious kind of standard big swinging motor rumble. So let's see if we can hear it. Let's turn Mario off and let's just go crazy. So you can hear it's pretty intense. It doesn't really chassis like rattle. It doesn't rattle the chassis or anything, but it's not HD rumble, so that's something to note. It's not so hideously high and tinny that it's horrible, but it's not a nice lower sort of slower rumble, which I would prefer. It's still quite like intense, do you know what I mean? And as far as I'm aware, you can't adjust the rate of that. You can't like bring it down to 50% or anything like that. It just is what it is, as far as I can tell. Overall, I think these are cracking. I really, really like these because of the ergonomics are just so spot on. A lot of Pro Controller Joy-Con alternatives now are going for smaller and smaller, more compact, which is great. I love that. I love the Coiorvis Phantom HDs and the Mobipad M6 HDs and all that good stuff. But for some people, they want things that are bigger and more comfortable, getting down to that right might stick, and these definitely allow that because of this horn, you know, because of this big grip down here. You can really get on there, and that's just lovely. Now, what could they improve? Because this is obviously an older design. These came out before the Phantom HDs did or anything like that, because they are using an older shell and stuff. And that's why we're seeing like potentiometer module joysticks, right, instead of Hall effect. And we're just seeing standard rumble and things like that. Now, for me personally, I think they should update these to go inside and coincide with the Phantom HDs, which are their super compact ones. They should have a big chunky one like this. They should stick in HD rumble. They should put Hall effect sensing joysticks and then pretty much just leave the rest alone. They don't really need anything else, to be perfectly honest, because that would then make these absolutely fantastic. Maybe try and slim it down a bit so it meets the Switch like screen a bit more, but then it might take away from the ergonomics. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like if they updated these with Hall effect sensing joysticks and HD rumble, these would be like spot on perfect. I would love them, I really would. So yeah, I still recommend them. They come in, I think, around the $50 mark, so these are a lot cheaper. They're $20 cheaper than the Phantom HDs and $30 cheaper than the Mobipad M6 HDs, so these are a lot cheaper. You know, are they still worth buying? Yes, I do think so. If you've got massive hands, definitely. Like, this grip is just great. Obviously they are freaking huge, but yeah, I still think these are decent. I would still recommend them. I actually really like these Joy-Con. I think they're decent, and they're better than the Mobipad M8s purely because they've got Wi-Fi. Do you know what I mean? Bluetooth, sorry. So they can be used wirelessly, whereas the M8s didn't. They only worked when they were set on the Switch, but the M8s had mechanical face buttons, which I do like, but for membrane, these are decent face buttons. And there we go. What do you think of the Coiorvis, what do they call them? Joypad controller. What do you think about that? Let me know down in the comments. If you like these, let me know, and like this video, subscribe, become a member where you can see these videos early, and also you can join our private Discord and you get to chat to me and AJ as well. And talking about AJ, go and check out our podcast over here where we talk about all things gaming, and check out another Joy-Con video for me down here. Bye.